after a couple months in, like the stress just built and built until I started having, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, panic attacks. It triggered some sort of anxiety in me that I had never felt before. So it was just like, it was this panic of like, oh man, like everything I've built, I've got this incredible Amazon business, I got this incredible event business, and now I invested in this dying gym and I'm gonna lose everything. I don't know, I think people, they spend too much of their lives doing the wrong things, or, just, I don't know, it could be living in an unhappy marriage, it could be a terrible job, like whatever it is, we love to complain about it for years. And I wasn't gonna be that person. I wasn't gonna be the person that complained about my business for years. It was time.
All right, welcome back for another episode. Today, my friends, I'm sitting down with somebody I've known for quite a few years at this point. Full transparency, him and I came up in the same Amazon world, but don't pigeonhole this guy in the Amazon world. We're just talking about his updates before we hit record, and his exposure time is literally 5% of what he does in his business now. So, however, I've watched this man operate up close, and I've wanted his story on the show for quite some time. Here's what I need you to know walking in. From the outside, he looks like a guy who just wins. He kept getting knocked down and building something new every time. Corporate sales, then his own companies, then franchises. But that's not the reason I want you to listen to him today, my friends. I want you to listen because behind every one of those wins is a man who in 2019 made a decision that cracked his mental health wide open, and he has built everything you see now while fighting anxiety and panic attacks that still show up every single morning. And that, my friends, I can definitely resonate with. If you've ever had to hold yourself together with one hand and build with the other, you need to listen up for the next hour. Rich Potter, my dude, welcome to the show, my man.
Hey, Karl, man. Thanks for having me, man. I've been looking forward to this. We just haven't been able to sync our calendars for a few months, but I'm excited to sit down with you and have a conversation.
Yeah, man. Me too, dude. I know we actually did sync up to have this earlier, but I had a technology breakdown. Nothing wanted to work, dude. I was so frustrated. So it was kind of embarrassing on my part. I told my assistant, hey, send Rich an email and let him know we got to reschedule because nothing was working. But yeah, man, I'm definitely excited to dive in because I've known you for several years. Man, I've had the privilege of just watching you build things and speak on stages and do a lot of the same things that I've done, right? So, well, dude, again, man, you and I are cut from the same teeth in the Amazon world, right? So I already know a piece of your grind, but let's get the audience up to speed. Before any of the businesses, you spent over a decade in the corporate world, right? So take us back there, man. Paint us a picture of that life, the big accounts, the stability. What a good day looked like for you back then.
Yeah, for sure. So I went to Arizona State, got a business degree at Arizona State. And my last semester there, I was going to one of those career fairs and met the company that I would work for the next 12 years. They're a little electronic component distributor out of Texas they happen to have a local sales office here in Arizona. So met them, got recruited by them. They moved me out to Dallas, Fort Worth for a year to go through training. And that was it was only supposed to be 6 months, but it was right at that 2008 crash. So I was supposed to go open up a new sales office in St. Louis after my training, and everything that was happening with the economy just put that on hold. They decided not to open the new office. And so here I had a job, but I didn't have a job, right? I went through the training to go work, but then there was nothing available because there was a hiring freeze and everything. So luckily they kept us trainees on. They didn't let us go. They're just you're going to have to go work in this business development group. You're going to have to grind, find your own accounts. Good luck. We're not going to fire you. You're not going to let you guys off. But once there's openings at sales offices around the country, we'll start placing you, right?
Right in the frying pan.
Yeah. So 6 months turned into a year, but then someone got promoted at the Arizona office, so I was able to move back to Arizona. So it all worked out for me. It just took a little bit longer.
Mm,
So I was basically a sales executive selling electronic components, business to business. Basically anything that goes on a printed circuit board or like little plastic connectors. That's what I was
yeah.
selling by like the thousands, tens of
Nice.
thousands.
Okay.
So yeah, so I got to Arizona. I basically got like the trash accounts that everybody kind of like handed off to make a desk for me. The value
The
was probably
consolation
about,
accounts, right?
absolutely, yeah. So it was like there's about $500,000 worth of annual spend that these accounts represented. But to get kind of
Wow.
give you like a frame of reference, like the closest person to that was doing 2 million a year.
Mm,
Average people are doing 3-4 million to like make a decent income, right? So I came in on the low end, fresh college graduate, and within 5 years, I built that up to a $14 million desk. I was the
nice.
number one salesperson in the region for several years. Yeah, it was great. It was cool. I was on fire. I thought that I was going to stay there. Most people there have been there their whole career, so I'm like, I'm going to be
Yeah.
here my whole career. I love this place. And then, gosh, I was probably there maybe 7 years or so. My largest account got bought out by a company in India. And this one account probably represented maybe 60 to 70% of my commission.
Oh, wow.
Right. So I was worried. I thought for sure 60 to 70% of my commission was going to disappear overnight. They were going to move all
Yeah.
production to India because it's cheaper. And so I went home and I told my wife, I'm like, we got to figure something else out, some sort of side hustle,
Yeah.
business, something, because real quick, my income could
Yeah.
be decimated, right? It actually didn't end up turning out that way. They ended up moving a bunch of production from India to North America. So my account even got bigger, but that fear, that panic got me thinking, got me looking.
Yeah.
So we started looking on like Craigslist and Facebook and a Biz Buy Sell just to generate some ideas, right? So I've actually
Yeah.
found a photo booth business for sale in Phoenix. And I started looking into that. And we didn't end up buying it, but I loved the idea of it. So we decided to start a photo booth business. So I went to my dad and I asked to borrow $10,000 to go buy a photo booth and launch a website and stuff like that. So my dad gave me 10 grand and we were off to the races. So we quickly turned that one photo booth into two photo booths and a bubble soccer rental division, all within about
Yeah.
4 months. Hired our first staff to run events, and had a lot of fun doing it. So that was like, so I'd been working for them probably about 8-9 years when we started that business.
Mm.
So we had a good time doing that. We did events for like NASCAR and Larry Fitzgerald, and even for a time we were traveling with Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood on the Garth Brooks Stadium
That's cool,
tour.
man.
Put my photo booth on their semi, and like they would drive it to the next city, and I'd fly in and do the event. It was super cool. So
That is, dude. That is.
yeah.
You better get some. You better have some autographs, man, or else it didn't happen.
Oh, dude, we would do 2 events a year for Larry Fitzgerald. And
That's awesome.
every year I wanted to take my jersey and get him to sign it, but I just
Yeah.
couldn't bring myself to doing it.
That's
So,
crazy, man. Well,
but
dude.
about a year into that is when we started in the Amazon space, right? So
Okay.
like I still hadn't replaced my income. I still at this point like I was all in on being my own boss. I didn't want to work for someone for the rest of my life anymore. And so about that time, I saw a friend make a Facebook post about selling on FBA and how they were doing great. And so this buddy I actually went to high school with, his brother founded Bucked Up Energy, right?
Oh,
And that
okay.
was like
Yep.
their start of Bucked Up Energy was FBA. They were doing other things at the time, but it had turned into Bucked Up.
Yeah.
So like I reached out to him. I'm like, what are you guys doing? What is this FBA thing? Like I didn't know there were third-party sellers on Amazon. And so
I didn't either. I can relate, man.
yeah. And it's probably about the same time as you. So I've been selling on Amazon for about 12, 13 years now. So I learned what it was. And because I was in distribution, like I understood the wholesale model. So about that time, like we found Jim Cockrum's community, and they were pretty big into retail arbitrage, but it
Yep.
didn't really resonate with me.
Yep.
So
I can
being in the
relate.
wholesale space, that's where I went. I went to
Yeah.
wholesale, and that's what we've done our whole time on Amazon. So
Awesome.
we built up a pretty big business pretty quick. I mean, we were doing $1 million a year within by year two, and it was about then. So about 3 years after I launched that photo booth business, I had replaced my income between the two businesses, and that's when we jumped in. And I quit my job, went full time,
Yeah.
and that's probably been, I guess, about 8 years ago now that
Wow.
I've been self-employed, done several different things in that time since then. But those are the two businesses that helped me get where I was and helped me leave my job.
That's a good story, man. And I've seen you come up in the same space that I say I grew up in too. I pretty much grew up in the sense of like your entrepreneur life. I didn't know it as entrepreneurship. I just knew to what you just said. I just didn't want to be pigeonholed to an income, to instability, right? And but my for me, it wasn't that volatile where somebody I could lose 60 to 70% of my income on a whim, right? But take us back to that moment for right quick, because I think you not intentionally but hit something, and I want to bring this out because there's a lot of people that's listening to you right now, especially in the business that you're in. What you just talked about, right? The 60 to 70% loss, a lot of people would freeze in that, right? But you decided instead to bet on yourself. So take us to that decision. What made you believe that you could build something on your own when safe was the move to go to? It's instead of finding another job.
Yeah, for me, like safe wasn't finding another job though, right? Like, dude, I could see that happening again, right? And
yes,
I never had, of course, never had the foresight of AI, but like that's what everybody's facing today, right?
Amen
so
to that,
like,
dude.
So in my mind, I could find a new job, I could find a new account, but those accounts could always disappear. They could go out of business, they could move their business elsewhere. I love the idea of sales because I felt like there was no limit to what I could do, like income wise.
Agree.
Right. But
agree.
But as I got a taste of entrepreneurship, I felt like it was even better. Like the ceiling was even higher than what it was in sales.
Yes.
Right. So like my income was no longer attached to a certain percentage of what I could sell. Now I could keep 100% of what I could sell. Right.
Yeah.
So like this light bulb went off and I'm like, that's where it is. Like that's where my future is.
Yeah.
So it was an income freedom. It was eventually became a time freedom. Like it wasn't right away. Like I went from working 40 hours a week to working 80 hours a week for a while. But it also made it so that I could step away at any time. My kids had something. We traveled a lot back then, right? So I was able to just book a vacation and leave on a whim. Like it really created an incredible level of freedom and an incredible level of potential, like what we could accomplish is what I saw.
Yeah.
So for me, that was it right there. Like I felt the trap was the job at that point. So
that is such a good point. And I've had several guests on already talk about how that is the trap, right? And don't get me wrong, not every person is meant to be an entrepreneur, and that's fine. There's intrapreneurship, right, where we can still have the same mindset of an entrepreneur, but using somebody else's pocketbook. But I love what you said there because you fell in love with sales, and I want to hear your perspective on this. For the person that's listening to you, I can't sell. I could never see myself in sales. Here's a newsflash. We're always selling, right?
Yeah.
We are always selling, especially if you're married, especially if you have kids, especially in any environment, you're always selling. So why not get good at it and leverage it to increase your ceiling, right?
Yeah. I'm not a natural born salesperson. I mean, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm an introvert at heart. I have the ability to turn it on when needed. But I am truly an introvert, and if this introvert can learn how to sell, and I really I sell myself, right? Like I'm a people person. I'm a listener. I think it's one thing I'm good at, like better than most, is I listen to people, and so I can learn who they are and what motivates them, and that I think is what makes me a good salesman, is my ability to learn, to listen, and then connect with people. It's not that I'm a pushy, like got all the sales strategies down. Like that's not me. I'm a relationship guy. I listen and I understand the person's need, and that's what makes me a good salesperson.
Well, that's so good right there, right? I mean, that's true relationship capital in full play, right? It's establish your rapport, and I love what you said there, selling yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, that is exactly what you're selling, right? You're selling yourself on the ability to solve that person's problem, or not be able to solve it. Cool, put them in a direction where they can be solved, right? But at the end of the day, that is exactly what you're selling them, is you. Love that, man. That was pure gold right there. Real quick before we keep rolling. Maybe life hit you hard. Business fell apart. Career isn't working out. Relationship ended. Health took a dive. And now you're staying in the rubble trying to figure out what the next move even looks like. Or maybe nothing blew up at all. On paper, you're winning, sure. But on the inside, something's off. If you're not in crisis, you're at a crossroads. And the playbook that built the life you have is not the playbook that builds the one you want. Either way, you're stuck. Not broken, stuck. Between who you were and who you're becoming. Most self-help just piles more weight on the load you're already carrying. I do not want to do that. I put together a free video series called The Grit Code Exposed, and I want to invite you to check it out. 7 short videos, that's it. The 5 laws that change everything for me and every client I coach. The same 5 that every person who's ever come back from the fire has walked through, whether they had a name for it or not. No fluff, no 90-minute webinar, no bait, just the free video series. You can start it tonight. Grab it at gritcodeexposed.com. One more time, gritcodeexposed.com. It's free. You don't need any more hustle. You need the next version, and this is how you find it. Check it out. See if it speaks to you, and if it does, I'll see you on the inside. All right, let's get back to the conversation. So let's fast forward a little bit. I'm not sure exactly the timeline, but somewhere along this phase, because I view you, like myself, as a serial entrepreneur, serial builder, right? And we're not talking about, the Kellogg's type of cereal. We're talking about, somebody who's building consistently. You've done multiple businesses, which, fast forward a little bit, you're doing franchise brokering, which we're going to dive into in a moment. But somewhere along the ways, there was a business you got into that wasn't as successful, right? So take us back to that time. I think it was a gym, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Take us in that moment in this moment of life where you're questioning things.
Yeah. So that all kind of happened about the time I decided to quit my job. A local gym became available for sale. It is a franchise, Snap Fitness. And it was a turnaround opportunity. Like it was kind of struggling. It was more or less breaking even. But I had met with the owner a series of times and decided to do it. So we bought the gym. And so like you said, I'm a franchise broker now. I spend all my days now trying to match people with the right opportunity that fits their personality and their strengths. Yeah. And this for me, like I wish I would have known that there was franchise brokers at the time, because this wasn't a fit for me. Right. Mm-hmm. Even though like I loved being in the gym, I loved working out and being active, it wasn't a very good fit. And the corporate support wasn't very good. I mean, in fact, it was terrible. I did a week training at corporate and then never heard from them again. right? And the owner didn't disclose a couple of things that I found out later, and we started losing memberships. And after a couple months in, like the stress just built and built until I started having. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, panic attacks. It triggered some sort of anxiety in me that I had never felt before.
Wow.
So it was just like it was this panic of like, oh man, like everything I've built, I've got this incredible Amazon business, I got this incredible event business, and now I invested in this dying gym, and I'm going to lose everything. And I just started catastrophizing, and that's not who I am. That's not anything I've ever done or whatever, but that's what was happening to me.
Yes.
And I knew that because it wasn't a good match and these things were happening, like I knew for me, sometimes I think you need to push through things, and I think you need to figure it out. You need to learn, and but this wasn't one of those things. And I realized that real quick. And so we decided to put it on the market and decided to sell it. So we owned it for a little bit less than a year. We found some people that bought it. Unfortunately for them, the timing was terrible. It was great for me. We sold it. I think it was either November or December of 2019. Which was a disaster for them about 4 months later. Right. So, and they were doing so well. They were building membership. Like it was a good fit for them. They were building up the memberships. They were cleaning things up. They were doing great. And then COVID hit and they ended up closing their doors. So like I said, we got super lucky, but unfortunately for them, they did not. But yeah, it wasn't a good fit for me. And with everything I was trying to do, it became too much. So
that makes so much sense right there. And let me ask a question, because you said something there that I think every person, especially if you're an entrepreneur or any builder of any type, you said something I really want to highlight. You felt this presence. I'm going to say presence, but you felt this tightness where you felt like regardless of how much you put into the business, you just see yourself in it, right? In other words, there's a lot of people listening right now. They're like, I feel like I need to quit, or I feel like I need to stop, or just move in a different direction. But you have a different perspective. I want you to explain that a little bit more. Like what actually caused you to actually put this on the market versus just persisting?
I think it was a number of things. Like I already had a couple of really good working pieces that could sustain my lifestyle, that was it was working. It wasn't something I needed, right? Like it was something I wanted, and I wanted to be successful at it. And I've never failed at a business before. There was a little bit of a sense of pride there that like I can't walk away from this because I'm not a failure. I don't fail at anything I do.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know, like it was just, I don't know what it was, because like most of the time I'm not going to quit. And it's not that I quit. I just realized it wasn't right for me at that time.
Agreed.
And so I had to, I don't know. I think people, they spend too much of their lives doing the wrong things.
Agreed.
Or, just, I don't know. It could be living in an unhappy marriage. It could be a terrible job, like whatever it is. We love to complain about it for years. And I wasn't going to be that person. I wasn't going to be the person that complained about my business for years. I just it was time, and it was a very quick decision, but it wasn't how I wanted to live my life. And so I had to get out of it. And for me, like that was just selling it and going back to what I was good at, my other two businesses.
Yeah. So that's really good there, man. And I think that's important to hear, because you made that decision fast, right? Instead of prolonging it and procrastinating it and not having the uncomfortable decisions or conversations and confrontations, right? And I say confrontations, even with ourselves, because to your point, you said, man, I'm not a failure. I'm not, I don't fail at stuff. And that's a great point, right? But there's still that little noise in your mind, that's still that little voice that says, it tries to label whatever it is. It could be failure. It could be crisis. It could be a number of different things. When something doesn't work out the way we intended, right? But for you, you immediately declared, "Hey, I'm not a failure. I do succeed at things. Just wasn't a fit for me at that time, right?" And that's perfect. I mean, dude, how many businesses does an average millionaire do before they become a millionaire? It's not the first one, second one, third one, a fourth one. It's usually on average 6 to 9 businesses that actually they have to go through to become a success, to become a millionaire, right? So, so for those who are listening or watching, I just really want to make sure you notate this, because if I understand correctly, you move swiftly. You immediately recognize that this was not a fit for you. And it wasn't because you were a failure or anything of that nature. It's just clearly wasn't a fit for you. And that's okay, right?
Yep.
So you told us that season really costed you money and a lot of nights and weekends, but the bigger cost, what did your head, right? Severe anxiety and panic attacks that you never had before. So did it only start at that point, or was there a specific moment you realized this wasn't just stress anymore?
Yeah, it was then. It was in that probably 2 to 3 month period after I bought it that something triggered. I don't know what it is, what it was, but never experienced it before. I experienced stress on a much different level, but this anxiety was totally different.
I can imagine, man.
Yeah,
I can imagine. So you built businesses after businesses. You're the guy who can figure everything out, right? And here is this gym, and your own brain probably telling you could not, right? And what I'm aiming at is all the people out there that try to start something, whether it's a fitness program, it's a business, it's a relationship, whatever. We've all got things that we've tried to do, and it didn't work out, right? And for me, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. For me, I've had to get into the mindset of, and this was of my own doing. My own coach says this, reinforces this to me, is what are the lessons I was meant to take away from that season, right? Like what are the lessons I need to extract? What's the dead weight I need to drop? So for you in that season, what were some of the lessons that you needed to learn in that season so you could carry forward to be even more successful?
Yeah. I didn't know it at the time, but there was a change I made in that season that directed me to coaching. It was very shortly after that I had a couple conversations with Jim Cockrum and his Amazon coaching community, and decided to start helping other people. Right. Until that point, it was me, like, what can I do to grow my businesses, build my wealth? And there was something that I don't know what it was, how it happened, but it just kind of pushed me a different direction. Like, I can build great businesses for myself at the same time I help other people do it. So I spent the next few years partnering with Jim and creating different wholesale courses and different courses for Amazon community, and then helping people start or grow or build their Amazon businesses. And that, since has turned into a world of hundreds of businesses that I now help and coach. And so it evolved into what it is now, kind of outside of the Amazon coaching space. But there was something that was really healing for me when I turned to helping other people.
That's so good right there, man. That's essentially the law of reciprocity working in full effect right there. When we stop, and I've said this, and I remember when it was, I keep saying yesterday, like yesterday is Monday. My day's all messed up. But when we start focusing on other people, right, our problems, not that they never go away, but our problems aren't as big as they used to be, right? And the universe, or whatever, how you want to view this, when you start caring for other people, when you start looking at other people more than yourself, your needs and everything that you may need in that point will just be taken care of, right? I mean, that's just the way life works, and I'm often reminded of this. Life is bigger than us, right? It's bigger than you. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than both of us put together, right? Um, but by the mere fact that you shift your perspective from not woeing on your own situation or things that's going on in your life to like, man, I just changed that person's life. Man, I just changed that person's life and probably his kids' future lives, right? And when you do that, man, it just changes your perspective. It really does. And I've had that perspective shift in my own life, man. And it's hard, right? I mean, it's hard. Not that we're selfish, but it's hard to have that kind of focus because humans, right? We are always looking about our own interests, right? What I mean by that is, man, I've got bills coming up. I've got this. How am I going to make this work? Instead of, man, how can I help this person? How can I help this person?
Yeah, I think my instinctual nature is to like draw in, to think of myself first, to kind of self isolate. And so it's taken some time and some practice to reverse that, right? And to look outside and to help others. But it's, man, you can really create a very rewarding life when you do that.
And I think that's a bigger win, in my opinion, man. I learned this the hard way, man. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And I think you saw this story in me, or you saw this in my life, man. I grinded for 10 plus years, almost 15 years, nonstop in building businesses. And same space, right? Amazon, multiple things, multiple ventures. However, man, it just woke up one day, dude. Talking about you kind of relate on the same note with the gym. I just was miserable, right? No joy, no fulfillment, no nothing. But I was always in grind mode, focusing on my own needs, focus on what my kids need, focus on my wife needs, focus on all those things, but other people. And as I'm talking this through with you, dude, I'm realizing that that's when things started to change for me, is when I started to focus on, other people, right? Whether it's through coaching or just straight up helping other people in their own struggles, or building their own businesses or doing other things in their own lives. But two things that you said changed everything for you, man. First, you said you don't actually have to, you have huge swings to win. You can start small and start strategically. The second, that mentors, coaches, and systems matter, that you do not have to go it alone, which I love personally, not because I do coaching and mentorship as well, but look back over the last 5 years. We as a society have gotten so freaking isolated, right? And so what an impeccable thing to say right now. So for a guy who bought, this gym and on instinct built everything solo, outside looking at it seems like to be a full reversal, right? Who showed up for, were you in the middle of it. But when did it start to all make sense? I think you started to say this here, but I want you to bring this full picture. When did it actually start to make sense for you for those two different shifts?
It was COVID. And it wasn't like COVID, but that's the time period, right? Like that's how it's all when it all started happening. And it happened. It was interesting because Arizona was a little bit different. We were definitely a little bit more lax with how we treated COVID.
Yeah.
But it was that time period where I think I really started developing some really deep relationships with some people. People that I was close to, my office manager now, who's been with me for 8 years, got really close with him. A couple of my neighbors, we'd sit on the back patio and hang out till 3 a.m. because there was nothing to do the next day, right? So it forced us into this situation where the rest of the world was closed off to us. Yeah. But my inner circle became really tight. So, I don't know. I think as men, sometimes we don't foster those relationships very well. And I'm still guilty of it today. But just this weekend, I reached out to a couple buddies and we went and, had a couple drinks and ate dinner and watched the game. Like I haven't always been that person, but I think it's important for especially us men who tend to isolate inside of businesses that we try to develop, foster those relationships. But it wasn't until COVID, that isolation within COVID, that I started to try to be more intentional about that, which is a weird time to be intentional
It
about
is.
it. We're told not to. We're told to stay
Yep.
away, to
Yep.
distance, but that's the timing for me is when it all happened.
That's very interesting to hear, man. And that's a great perspective. So two things occur for you. One is you got I say two things happened for you. For you, you actually got more intentional with your inner circle, right? And I can see that, right? I mean, you're home all the time, or you're in your local city. We were in Alabama before we moved here, so I could certainly relate to that. While we did have a pretty tight shutdown, majority of the state was like, "Yeah, f you, we're not doing that."
Yeah.
Go pound sand, essentially. And so, but that's such a good point, man. And we're both dudes, so we could both say this out loud. Us dudes, by default, in my opinion, I'm of the belief of this, that we just don't talk to people, right? Because we think we could do it on ourselves. We can't, we don't need anybody else, or we may have been hurt before and we just don't want to let our guard down again, or we're just, too macho to bring other dudes in our lives to surround ourselves with people, right? That's such a good point, man. I think it's only gotten worse for so many people since COVID, because of the whole distancing, because of the whole isolation. Everything's been pushed virtually, especially in the era that we live in. You and I were both in Amazon space. Everything, dude, you don't ever have to leave your home anymore.
No, you really don't. And a lot of businesses, a lot of jobs now are remote. We're further isolating from each other.
Yeah. Heck, I can have everything delivered. I can have my groceries delivered. I can have, people come over and clean my vehicles or groom our dog, or I never have to leave the house,
Yeah. And that's not how, through evolution, we are a very social creature. We're used to sitting around the campfire for hours telling stories, right?
Yep.
That's who we are at our very base genetic level, and that's not what we've evolved to in the society now.
So that's such a good point. We are meant to be in communities. We are meant to be social. We are meant to be, pouring into each other, helping each other, and not sitting in isolation. In fact, isolation is where people get hurt, literally get hurt. That's where you start developing stories. That's where you start, coming up with these narratives that 99.9 to the infinite percent are inaccurate. Such good points, man. Let me ask you something, man, because this is something I stress, but something I deal with every day that outside looking in, people don't think this is true. Do you still deal with this anxiety every day?
Not every day. And it's actually been getting a bit better the last little while, but it kind of comes and goes. I'll be good for months, and then it'll just kind of come back. I notice it around procrastination, around things that are harder. Procrastination can trigger my stress and anxiety. Obviously, with the ebbs and flows of business, if I go a few months without closing a deal or whatever, that can start to cause it to creep in. But no, it's not something I deal with every day like it was back in 2019, but it is something that still comes and goes.
Yeah. I can fully relate to that. I actually, in fact, I just put this out in our group. I call it productive procrastination. This is what a lot of people deal with or struggle with, is productive procrastination. What I'm talking about here is the busy, quote unquote, busy work that we do instead of the things that actually move the needle in our lives, right? Whether it's our businesses, our careers, our relationships, or health, even, right? In your bio or in your intake, you mentioned you give credit to your morning routine, which I'm a huge fan of morning routines. and you put a lot of attention into meditation and essentially closing the night the same way. So walk us through your average morning, your average, evening, even. What does that look like for you to stay grounded, to stay, I wouldn't say anxiety free, but just to keep yourself grounded and checked and giving yourself the win the best way possible?
Sure. For me, honestly, it's really simple. I don't try to overcomplicate it.
Love it.
I'm not the guy that gets up at 4 a.m. and has to ice bath and then sauna and then this and that. No. So for me, again, very simple. I get up, I'll throw my headphones in, and there's this app that does these sound waves, this meditation sound waves thing. Like can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but you get a different frequency in each ear, and it's supposed to do something to your brain to kind of help balance you out. It's that and a 2 mile walk. That's my morning, man. Like after that, cup of coffee, get to work, whatever. But that's my intention in the morning is throw in those meditation sound waves, go for a walk. And I try to take some good supplements and stuff like that to kind of help balance my body and help with I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder about a year and a half ago. So that is another trigger for anxiety, actually, because how it affects me. But anyway, so I'm getting way better with that. And then it's kind of the same thing in the evening. It's a much shorter, half a mile to a mile walk, same beats, same meditation frequency in my ears, and just kind of alone, just being alone with myself outside and walk. I keep it that simple. Right.
That's good.
I do like to hit the gym a few times a week. I like to get in my sauna a few times a week, but that's not regimented. It's not scheduled. Sure. It's like, I'll fit it in, I'll make it happen. But it's really just those couple of things in the morning and evening that I just keep it basic, keep it simple. And
that's so good, man. I love how you keep that simple. Cause guess what, to your point that you started with, a lot of people overcomplicate the hell out of this, right? They feel like they've got to have a laundry list of things they got to do in the morning, in the evenings, and so forth. And when they screw up on one of those, they quit everything.
Yeah. Some people's routine feels more stressful than the stress it's supposed to be relieving.
Yes, exactly, man. I so agree. And for me, my morning routine's a lot more complex. I say complex, but it's more things. It's not a cold plunge. I'm in South Florida, so there is no such thing. I say that, but there isn't at the same time. But for me, it took time to build up to that, right? I didn't start the morning routine I have now right on day one, right? I did start with reading 10 pages every day. I did start, and I love how you said, you put earphones in. For me, I have to put earphones in right from the get-go because my mind wanders off on the things it doesn't need to be wandered off on, right? So I try to control what I'm thinking about, what I'm listening to right from the beginning, because otherwise, man, I'm thinking about a sales call that took place yesterday. It wasn't good, or a client call, or an argument my wife and I had, or kids, whatever. The list goes on. But I love how you keep that simple. And I hope that's encouragement for everybody that's listening right now, just how simple it can be and how effective simplicity can be at the same time. You don't have to overcomplicate this.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes there might be an audiobook involved or whatever, but I think I've found that the biggest stress or anxiety causer is my overthinking. Right. It's so that I think by blocking that off first thing in the morning and not allowing that to happen, I think is what sets my attention for the day. And that's what's helped with alleviating a lot of the anxiety and a lot of stress.
Yeah.
There's a book called Don't Overthink, or Don't Believe Everything You Think.
Yes.
Great book. If you're trying to get out of your own head, definitely a recommendation.
I agree, man. That's so good. Don't listen to the voices.
Yep.
So, real quick before you go, if you're still with me this deep into the episode, something in it hit you. Maybe it was the guest. Maybe it was one line. Either way, you're still here. And that feeling in your chest right now, that's the signal. Most people get a signal like that and do absolutely nothing with it. They close the app, life rushes back in, the moment's gone. 6 months later, they're in the exact same spot. I don't want that for you. So I put something together. I want to invite you to check out a free video series called The Grit Code Exposed. 7 short videos, the 5 laws I walk every client through. The same ones that rebuilt me when everything else fell apart. And if you listen closely today, you heard them running underneath the entire conversation. Because everyone who's come back from the fire walks through these 5 laws. Some find them on their own, some get help, but the laws don't change. Free video series. You can start it tonight. No fluff, no 90-minute webinar, just the series. And if you're going to do something with what you heard today, do this before life talks you out of it. Go to gritcodeexposed.com. One more time, gritcodeexposed.com. And hey, before I let you go, thank you for riding with me this long. It means a lot more than you know. Thank you. Well, dude, fast forward to today, man. You do some amazing things as a franchise consultant, right? I've seen you're killing it out there. I see what you've been posting. You own franchises of your own. So help us understand what your day-to-day stuff looks like today. What are you most fired up about right now in the work that you're doing, man?
Sure. Let me back up just a little bit and how I got there. So I love to like try things out, right? So it was probably 2022. I decided to jump in on Turo. Bought a couple cars to rent out on Turo, and it was really good for us for about a year and a half, and then the Phoenix market got oversaturated. We had to sell and we got out. But during that time period, I connected with a gentleman out of Michigan who was kind of help coaching and helping people understand the Turo platform. And so like I bought into one of his courses, one of his audio courses and listened to it to kind of help improve my business. But that connection with him is what led me into franchise brokering. So he had a heart to help people and to teach people. And so I developed a relationship with him during the Turo space, but during Turo time, right? And so like I saw him exit at the same time I was exiting. So he was seeing the same things in Michigan. And for me, I just went right back to focusing on my Amazon business and my event business. And he got into franchise brokering. And he started being very public about what he was doing and helping people start businesses. And so I kind of watched that for about 6 months. And eventually he made an announcement that he was going to build a team, much like a real estate brokerage with agents on his team. He was going to do that in the franchise space. And so after kind of watching that for about 6 months, I reached out and I'm like, what is this all about? Sounds cool. Yeah. What is this all about? So it's been almost 3 years now. I decided to join his team. And so essentially what I'm doing is helping people start businesses through franchising. So I belong to the Franchise Brokers Association out of Orlando, Florida. They have a very comprehensive training process, licensing process you go through. And then they have agreements with over 500 different franchises that we can rep and present to our clients. Nice. So it's what I do, how I like to think of myself and the work I do is matching people with the right opportunity for their skill set, for their lifestyle goals, and for their budget. Like I said, I represent over 500 businesses. They're not all franchises. Some are classified as business opportunities, regulated differently by the FTC. They don't have a franchise disclosure document. A lot of those are much cheaper investments. They provide the training and support of a franchise, but they're not, right? So what I do is I help people identify what type of lifestyle they want to build around a business. And based on the things that we discover together through an entrepreneurial assessment and through a couple of discovery calls, then I'll start showing them businesses. I never lead with a brand. I never lead with a hot concept thinking it's right for everybody.
Yeah.
Like we spend time together diving into who they are and what they want in life. And then I'll show businesses that I believe match them and help them accomplish that. Right. So,
Nice.
yeah, it's fun. I like I said, I've been doing it for almost 3 years now. I love it. I've helped so many people start amazing businesses. One of my best friends, we've been friends since we were like 5 years old. About 2 years ago, he bought a vending machine business opportunity from me. He started with 10 vending machines. It's only been 2 years. He is up to 33 vending machines now. He quit his job a few months ago, does it full time, completely replaced his 6-figure income at the dealership. The dude has been turning wrenches. He's been a mechanic since he was like 12. His dad raised him doing it. He's been doing it forever, but he finally escaped it and started his own business. You probably know Abe McMahon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know very well.
I helped him invest in a home inspection franchise.
I see all this stuff about it. So yep.
He's killing it, man. He's killing it. He loves it. It's a great system. They provided amazing training for him, and he ran with it. And he's one of their favorite owners. They love him over there.
Yeah. Well, I don't doubt it, man. He's a good dude in the first place, but I see him killing it. I see all the posts he put on social media, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't realize he had pivoted away from Amazon, in that space. So awesome, man. Well, dude, you said your message is about helping people get clear on the life they actually want to build first, and then find a business, as you just talked about, right? So looking back, man, let's say 20, 30 years ago, I would love for you to give an opportunity to the younger version of Rich to, like, what would you say to him? Have you known what you know now? In other words, there's a Rich out there that may not be, they're slaying it right now. They need to hear something from you to coach them through some of maybe they're going through disaster after disaster. Maybe they were killing it in that one gym, your gym. I say it was yours, but that gym moment in their life just completely derailed them. What would you say to that, Rich?
Man, that's a great question. I just tell him to continue to bet on himself. I think I felt really good at is digesting information and then being able to put it into practice. Right. So for me, it's just go back to that and find whatever it is. Like, the market's going to be different at any given time. Right. But what is it in the market today that you could apply that to? So just never stop learning, go back to the fact that I learned real quick and I'm able to implement and I'm able to teach it pretty well very quickly as well.
Nice.
Right. So whatever that means in the day and time that you're in at that point, right? You can find different applications for it, I think, in every stage of life.
Amen.
But I think just keep to that, because that's at the heart. That's who I am.
Love that, man. Love it. Well, as we're wrapping up, man, this leads into my rapid fire questions. And that's ironic how you talked about that, because one of the questions I love to ask, especially in the season that you're in, what is your definition of grit, man?
Yeah, I think it's just going back to just continue to bet on myself.
Yeah.
Whatever the moment, whatever the struggle or even success, just continue to bet on myself.
Love it, man. I think that's the biggest, the best. I want to say, that is the biggest, but I think that's the most important bet you can ever make, man, is on yourself. Ever. Hands down.
Yep.
All right, man. Last two questions, my dude. When the lights go out and you're in the trenches, you're in the thick of it, what do you find repeating to yourself? Could be a lesson, it could be a directive, or it could be a quote. What do you find repeating yourself, man, to get yourself out of those trenches?
I'd say it's just trying to envision the legacy that I am creating for myself and my family. You know, I have I have this saying that I say to my kids every night, and it's I don't know, it's funny, it's whatever, but I tell them to sleep deliciously.
Sleep
Right?
deliciously.
Sleep
Okay.
deliciously, like just enjoy it. Just get everything you can out of it. Right? My oldest hates it. Right? My oldest hates it, but I tell her, I'm like, that's what I want you to say to me at my funeral is to sleep deliciously, right? And it's just about, to me, like in my mind, it's just about like how I lived, how I,
Yeah.
you know, persevered,
Yeah.
and just that legacy that I'm creating for myself, for my family, the people around me. Like, am I living that way? So that you know, every night I can sleep deliciously. It's again, it's a funny saying, but it's got some meaning to me.
That's dude, that might be the whole title for this episode, man. That might be the title for this whole thing, dude. That's so good. I love how unique that is. And that's, hey man, that's great, man. It just gives you some that extra pizzazz about you, you know? I love it, man. I've never heard that, but that's so good, dude. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say that later on. I guess I'm like, what the heck did you just say to me?
What is that? She hates it. You can't sleep deliciously. That's something you taste. She hates it.
Oh man, that's awesome.
The other
All
two,
right, man. My last question for you comes in two parts. So, those who are listening or watching, I love to give my guests an opportunity to challenge my future guests with a challenge of their own. And guys, that lineup is completely anonymous. So it's not like I say anything to Rich about who my next guest is. Plus, I like to mix these up anyways. So, Steve Dolan from a previous episode had this question for you. What are you doing to help your community and the betterment of society? And what are you building or doing with your life?
I think, and I've experienced this in my life, I think business ownership changes people for the better in most parts, right? And I think business ownership, small business ownership in general, has really helped America. Like, it's helped us become a very strong country. It's helped build ideals, you know, and it's not always easy and it's not always good, but for the most part, like small business ownership, it changes people's lives for the better. And that's what I'm doing. I am helping people, and the vehicle that I'm using right now is franchise ownership. I think because of the nature of franchises and the support and the structure and the education that comes with it, it makes sense for a lot of people. A lot of people can plug into it and they can learn a ton. They can, you know, there's so much there. But I think it all comes back to me for like business ownership changes people, it changes families, it changes lives. So I think that's, I would encourage, if there's any inclination in you to do it, I'd encourage you to really look into it. Can really bless your family and bless your life.
Yeah, I agree. And this is a concept I learned a long time ago. Small businesses are the backbone of this country. They're the backbone of this whole economy.
Yeah,
I agree wholeheartedly. It's not the big. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it helps. These big corporations do help, but it's really the small businesses, the mom and pop shops, the smaller businesses that you advocate for and you put people into. They're the backbone of this country, man. So, all right, my dude, what would you love to challenge my next guest with? What's the challenge of your own?
Man, kind of going back to what we were just talking to a little bit ago. What is the bet that you're making on yourself right now that other people think is wrong?
Ooh. That's so good, man. Especially if it's the person that's a people pleaser or the certain person that's always seeking for validation. Ooh, that's so good, man. That's a good question. That's a real good question. All right, man. Dude, for the person that is listening, they want to connect with you, to learn from you, either about the business that you're fitting people into, or they just want to say, hey, man, thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for sharing what you said. What is the best place they can find you, man?
Yeah, for me, the social media platform that I'm on the most is LinkedIn. So come connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Rich Potter over there in the Phoenix Metro. I'm pretty easy to find. Other than that, my website, franchiseheroes.co. So
Awesome.
not com, .co, franchiseheroes.co.
Love
So
it,
yeah,
man.
those are probably the two easiest places to connect with me. But yeah.
Awesome, dude. Well, thanks for sharing that. We'll definitely be dropping all of that in the show notes. So guys, check out his website, connect with him. You know, if you have any, as he said, any inkling at all about starting a business, buying a business, or if you just have like this little bit of an itch, reach out to him, guys.
Yeah. If you know people that are like, refer them over to me. I got a great referral program too, even if it's not right for you, And also, if you run a solid business and you've ever thought about franchising it, I can help you out with that as well.
Awesome, man. Dude, thank you so much for coming in here and sharing your heart, sharing your wisdom, and just sharing your story. Not just the string of successes and the loss as well, but coming in here and sharing your authenticity, your compassion for helping other people, and just getting a glimpse behind the story of it all, man. Thank you I honor and respect you for that, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, great. Absolutely. All right, to those who are listening and watching, the gap between average and excellence is what? Action. Even if it's just imperfect action. Don't just listen to Rich today. Take one thing he shared and use it in the next 24 hours. That is the challenge. That is the tuition of listening today. Also, be the reason someone doesn't quit today. You heard us talk about isolation. Don't keep this to yourself. Someone in your circle needs it. Send it to them. Rich, again, my dude, thank you for stepping in the arena.